Hey folks, this is Philip with the Everyday Fighter podcast, where we share stories and insights from everyday fighters just like you. Today, I'm excited to give you this interview. Her name is Debora Tedford, and she is amazing. She is a nurse. She is a grandmother. And at 54 years old, she is a boxer. Just wow. I don't even know what else to say. I want you to listen to this amazing woman. She has just the most amazing attitude. Her story of transformation in her life, it was just inspiring to me. I just felt so lucky to be able to talk with her, and I'm proud to be able to bring her energy and her story and insights to you. But before we jump into her interview, I wanted to bring you today's episode spotlight. Now, just as a reminder, these episode spotlights are not sponsored. These people have no idea who I am. I just feel like they could probably use a little bit of attention, quite frankly. You know, people, organizations that I think are doing great work, and I just wanted to kind of share a little bit about them. And today I wanted to share with you a show on Facebook. It's called Returning the Favor. Now, this show is created by Mike Rowe. If that name sounds familiar to you, you probably heard it from the Discovery Channel. Mike used to have a show called Dirty Jobs, among a few other shows on other networks. And he has this show now called Returning the Favor, where he finds what he would refer to as do-gooders. Just everyday people like you and me, except that these folks have something that they're passionate about in terms of helping people in their community. And what he does is he goes over there under the guise of kind of doing a show, a documentary about people that are doing good work. But as a twist to that, at the end of the show, he actually does something amazing for them. So maybe it's giving them a check that will help them further their cause. Maybe it's doing a celebration for them, bringing the community together to celebrate what these people are doing. Just some way to not only say thank you for what they've done, but also to help them further the mission that they have chosen for themselves. So I love what he does with that show, and I would encourage you to check it out. Again, it's Returning the Favor, and it's available on Facebook. So I'll link to that in the show notes. That's it for our spotlight. Let's jump into this really fun interview with Debora Tedford.
I grew up with an younger brother and a younger sister. I'm the oldest of three. My dad, my sister is actually my half sister. My dad actually passed away right before I turned 6 years old of cancer. So I grew up with a stepdad, and then he was not very nice. He was kind of abusive, and him and mom split up, and then married the dad that ended up raising me. And we lived on a farm, and hard work was just part of it. And I grew up and helped with my siblings. I went to work when I was 16. Wow. And make extra money, how to get that first car. And got married on my 18th birthday. That didn't work out very well, but I had two beautiful kids from it, adopted one, and have 8 grandbabies out of the deal. So that's not bad. I got my nursing degree finally. Got a little behind on that because, decided to have kids and all that fun stuff first. And got my nursing degree, decided I needed to do something else. I need to get healthier I was going to be around for my kids. I was at one time over 300, and I lost down to about 260. I met my coach. I met him online, actually. Funny story is I met him on a date site. And we,
Okay.
yeah, it's funny. And we just kind of started talking and cutting up with each other. And I just asked him, and he mentioned he kickboxed and he boxed and everything. So I just asked him about private sessions because I'd already been talking about it. And he said, yeah. So we started training, and 3 or 4
So
times
not
a week.
dating, just training.
just training. And, became really good friends. And he's been my trainer for the last 6 years. And I started dropping the weight. I met him at 260, and I'm down to 143 now. Still have a little ways to go. But, I fell in love with boxing the first time, he gave me a consultation lesson. He said, this is what it's about, and I fell head over heels for it. And I started training with him, and I started traveling as a nurse for a little while. And that's the first thing I do. I find out where I was going. I'd find me a gym. I need a boxing gym. I need to get this done. And I just kept on and kept on. And after about 2.5 years of training, I wanted to compete. And he said, okay, you're ready to start trying to compete. And so I started competing 3 years ago, and had 8 matches. Only won one, but it doesn't matter. You don't lose, you learn. All of them has been bigger than me. I've always been the guy in the ring. So, but, yeah, really. So, I'll go toe to toe with them. I won't back off. I won't back down. I'll just go for it and see what happens. And hopefully I've got one coming up in September. We'll have to see how that goes. My last 3 matches, they backed out right at the last minute. Mm-hmm. So, that's part of it. And I love it. I love being able to tell the story. People meet me and they go, find out what I do, and they go, really? You do that? That doesn't hurt? I go, no, not when you're in the middle of it. You don't feel it all, And, he spars with me. He spars hard. He don't treat me like a girl. He never has. He we go for it. And, that's just kind of the way it is. It's just part of it. It's something I look forward to when I train with him. We train 2.5 hours, 3 hours at a whack. And, it's just something I look forward to. I love doing it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So many places I want to go with this, but so like growing up, I mean, were you into sports? Were you, active in that way, or?
I played softball.
Okay.
I played softball a lot. I biked a lot. I tried basketball, but I was a little too short for basketball. I wasn't any good at track. I didn't care for track, but now I enjoy running, so that's kind of weird. But I would box. Me and my brother would box in the backyard. We didn't have gloves on, and we would just go for it, And so I've always been into that. The more physical the activity was, the better I liked it. I didn't like things, that you really didn't get into much. Things that you wasn't busy doing. Chess and checkers, yeah, that's okay, but that wasn't enough for me. I needed something more. So I always played softball. Started playing softball when I was 9, and I played all the way up until I was about 14, 15 years old. And I've always been on my bike. In the summertime, I would get on the bike after breakfast, and I'd be gone all day long. And then come in at night. We'd have a softball game. I'd go play softball and come back and do it all over the next day. I was always doing something like that all the time.
So you enjoyed that feeling of exerting yourself. Something. It didn't have to, just plain mental, wasn't the thing that really clinched it for you. You need to really physically exert yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now I will say though that there's many people that enjoy that feeling, exerting themselves physically or such. They're not punching their brothers in the face. So that's where I'm curious. Where did that come from? And I mean, at least for me, like growing up, any kind of that physical kind of even play fighting you know, it wasn't that we'd get yelled at for it, but it wasn't encouraged, quite frankly.
Right.
And I think that's very prevalent, especially these days.
Right.
You know, but for you, you know, at least with your brother, was that not the case, or how did that play out?
He was mad at me for something. He would get mad about something, you know, and it would just start with, you know, him fussing at me, running to mom, telling mom or something. And my mom would say, y'all go take care of it yourself. You handle it yourself. You know, you need to figure it out. And, you know, he would throw a punch. And after that, it was on, you know, okay, fine, let's go. And, you know, we'd fight it out for a little while until he finally quit. And, you know, that'd be the end of it. But, you know, he usually would get mad about something. And, you know, we were little kids. I mean, 8, 9 years old, 10 years old, we were little. And we would do that. And as we got older, of course, we didn't do that as much. You know, we found other ways to handle it. But, you know, if there was a Rocky movie come out, you know, I've seen Rocky, I don't know how many times. And any boxing movie that came out, anything related to that, I was there. You know, I've always liked that. My brother did Golden Gloves for a little while.
Okay.
And, of course, back then, girls didn't do the boxing thing, you know, when I was growing up. That just wasn't something girls did. So I never was involved with it, but I loved watching it. I loved, you know, playing around with it. You know, that's just something I liked. It helps me now, especially. It helps me reduce the stress from work, frustration, and everything else. I've got a way to get it out, and I don't keep it pinned up. So that's kind of how everything kind of started. It started at one thing, and it just progressed itself to that point.
When your mother told you both go work it out, I mean, was there an expectation that you were actually going to come to blows, or was it just talk, or she just didn't have a specific way for you all to work it out? She just left it to you guys' own device.
She just kind of left it up to us to do it, you know.
However it needed to happen.
However, exactly. It was going to happen. So she just kind of left it up to us and let us do it and figure it out. And, you know, it usually wouldn't take very long. And a lot of times, you know, we would just be playing around and one thing would lead to another and he would get heated or something. And then I would get heated up and it would just go from there. But a lot of times things would just start playing and then things would just happen. And, you know, he would go running, crying and having a fit. Mom would go handle it. Go take care of it. Y'all figure it out. And there we go. And we get it done and settled and everything was fine after that.
But it wasn't like she heard it coming to blows and then she'd go in there. Oh, no, or whatever.
No. She would just let us work it out and go. Now, you know, if it got to a certain point, a certain level, you know, she would obviously come in there and say, hey, that's enough. It's time to stop. You know, she'd put a stop to it. But it never got to that point. It was always get it settled out, and we usually wouldn't take very long, and we'd be done, and that's the end of it. But if it ever got to that point, she would have stepped in.
Because from the outside looking in, hearing that, I mean, just even hearing, hey, go ahead and work it out. I think people could see it as in one or two ways. One is that it's either apathy, right? It's like, okay, I just don't care. You all just take care of it or whatever. Or that there was a level of trust there.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I don't know exactly what her experiences were growing up or that type of thing. And I think, you know, maybe, you know, back in those days, it was just more, you know, when she was growing up, that's just the way it happened anyways. And she kind of like trusted that process for her own kids as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, she trusted us not to, you know, murder the other one, obviously, and to make sure, you know, everything's fine. And if she needed to step in, she definitely would have stepped in. There was no ifs, ands, buts, or ors about that. She would have stepped in and stopped everything. Because I know when we were little and we would go to church and we'd sit up in the front, you know, close to my granddad, and we'd start playing around, you know, she'd thump us on the back of the head, get our attention and make us move. And, you know, we knew if she did that, we were in trouble.
Yeah.
So she had no problem with stopping anything that was going to happen if she thought it was out of hand.
How did that shape up as you grew up and then you started having your own children, did you have the same kind of approach with them as well?
For the most part, I did. For the most part, I let them work their whatever it was out. Now, my son would get a little bit more with it than he should, and I would step in and make him back off and everything and do that. But for the most part, I let them work the problem out between them and go from there. And if it got out of hand, I stepped in the middle of it and pulled them, separated them and made them go different directions until everything was calmed down. But, I thought it was important for them to learn how to handle problems and disagreements, because as they grow older, that's going to be there all the time. So it's important when they're younger to learn how to handle a disagreement that comes up, maybe not physically, but, at some point you're going to learn not to go physical. You're going to learn how to talk, and you're going to learn how to do this. It's the process. And I felt that it was important to let them work it out, but be there if things got out of hand, started getting to that point, and then stop it, separate them, and then talk to them separately and go with that. And, I did that a few times, mainly because my son would get more into it than my daughter would. But they learn how to handle things now. So, I think it's beneficial.
But because, you didn't have a problem that if it came to blows, that sometimes that is just part of the process.
Right.
Now there's, again, to your point, there's limits to that, right? Especially
exactly.
Intensity levels and how big is this kid versus this one or whatever.
Right.
But just in terms of the notion of it, violence, that's just part of it sometimes, that's
exactly.
already innate inside you.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, that's good. Now, did you have to handle any of those situations outside of times with your brother, outside of your family, where you have to come to blows? Because it sounded like you're fairly comfortable with it. In any case, is that something you had to deal with in school, outside of your family, or anywhere else?
In school, no. In school, I was pretty much the quiet one. I kind of stayed, by myself in my own little group, pretty much the ones that nobody really messed around with much, not really the jocks, not really the smart ones, just kind of in the middle and the average. So that's kind of a lot of where I stayed. But I knew if I had to defend myself in any shape, form, or fashion, I knew I could. And even now I know I can do it, but I also know that if they're a lot bigger and a lot stronger than me, they may take me down, but they're going to do it with a fight. I'm not just going to lay down and say, okay, there you go. And I knew back then too, I'm not going to just let you do it. You're going to have to fight to do it. And if I have to defend myself, I will do it. But I never had to in school. That never was an issue. But like I said, I was always the kind of the middle and the average thing, the ones nobody kind of messed around with. They just kind of almost forgot them.
Yeah, they felt that quiet strength, underneath.
Yeah, there you go.
Subconsciously, I think she might be a brawler. So you had this, just kind of physically anyway, and then that helped you develop some confidence. You were an enthusiast of boxing, even from an early age.
Yeah, I always liked it. Now, I didn't get to watch it much. When I grew up in the country, we only got like 2 or 3 channels because my dad, we didn't have the DirecTV or anything back then. So we only got 2 or 3 channels. So I never really watched it much on the TV. But I always kind of tried to keep up with it as much as I could. Now, as I got older, I would watch it off and on, some, between work and taking care of little ones and doing this and doing that. I would get some of it off and on. And do, but now that my kids are all grown, it's a lot easier for me to watch the fights and everything. Of course, now with YouTube, you can watch fights from years ago, and watch them. And I do that a lot. I pick up that and I watch. And I get ideas on how to do some things. And my trainer will come over and watch with me too sometimes. And he'll say, "That's what I'm showing you to do. That's what we went over. That's how I want you to do that." So it helps. So, it's kind of like my homework, to watch some of these other fighters and see how they did this and see how they did that and go with that. But yeah, I was always, into something like that. Always liked it. Never really had a lot of access growing up to be able to watch it, considering we was out in the country and, only 2 or 3 channels at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't always have it, but, I always liked that kind of stuff. That was always something there inside that just took a while coming out. Now, I got married at a very young age. I got married on my 18th birthday, and we were married for 16 years. Now, it wasn't the best thing in the world. Looking back on it now, I did it mainly out of spite because I was 18, so I could do what I want to, Eugene. But he was not a good guy. He was not a nice guy, and he took a lot of that away from me, over the years. Beat it down and took it away. You're not worth anything. This, that.
In terms of like your kind of like your internal strength that you had cultivated up to that point.
Right. He kind of took it. And after we separated and we divorced, several years, good 2 or 3 years is when I found my boxing coach, or maybe a little longer than that. I found him, and he gave me that back. He let me refine that inner strength again. I found where it was hiding and brought it back out. And, the person I was before we started training, before I picked it back up, is different than the person I am now. Now I have the confidence that I had lost, and I had the self-esteem that I had lost. And, I'm not afraid to try it. I'm not afraid to do some of that stuff anymore. But all of that came into play. I cultivated it. It grew and everything. I got in a bad situation, and it got taken away, kind of beat down a little bit. And it took a while for me to even try to find it back. And finding my coach, it started bringing that back out. He said it. He's even said it's always been there. We just had to pull it back. We had to bring it back to the front. And he's right. That fighter part of me has always been there. I lost it for a while, but now it's back. And, I don't think you have to walk around like you're going to whip somebody every time you turn around. I think you just walk around with that confidence, knowing that if you have to do it, you know how to do it. But you don't have to be showing it off. Boxing in a lot of ways gives you back that discipline, teaches you how to handle that kind of stuff, and gives you the confidence and everything to back it up. And you don't have to, show it off all the time. Like he always tells me, always stay humble. There's always somebody out there that's going to be better, but always stay humble. Win or lose, take it the way it's meant to be, and be humble about it, and not all cocky and, hey, I did this, So that's what I try to always do, and stay that way. But, like I said, all that was already there. It was taken away and beat down, and now it's back, and it's like, okay, here I am now. I'm back. I'm more me now.
So I mean, it was there, and as you said, like your relationship with your ex-husband was such that, I mean, there wasn't even any room for you to explore the things that you enjoyed. Right. Okay, and then go ahead. I'm sorry.
And there was no room for any of that. It's pretty much whatever he wanted to do, what he liked, and everything. That's the way it was. Anything else was null and void. It wasn't important. So you didn't get to enjoy that without a fight, and it just wasn't worth fighting all the time at that point.
How did you balance that kind of, you had that feeling inside, once in a while it tries to come out, but then it just kind of gets pushed down, that experience you had personally, but then you have, young children in the house as well, that I'm sure you had your own vision for what you wanted for them, right? You want them to be strong. You want them to have those experiences of having confidence that you had learned as a child. How did that play out for you?
It was hard. Toward the end of that, it was really hard. because by the end of it, my daughter was 15, my son was 12. And there was a whole lot of things in there that I was trying to balance how to make ends meet on a part-time job at that point, how to get back and forth and do things I needed without a car because he took the car, how to do that, how to make sure my son had the stuff he needed for football and different things like that. So it took a lot of energy. So I literally put myself way on the back burner. Anything I wanted or needed for me was gone because I had to focus that and keep some kind of normalcy as much as possible, with them. I had to make sure they had a roof over their head, they had the utilities, they had food, they had the things they needed for school just to be. And so everything that would have made me be more me was gone. That wasn't going to happen. I didn't even have time to think about it because I had to focus all this over here. And then I went back to nursing school, because I put that on the back burner too for a few years because, kids and everything. So I went back, got my nursing degree, and, I ended up graduating in 2005 with my LVN, started working in 2006. And as soon as my insurance came where I could use it, I went and did my whole physical and all that good stuff, like you're supposed to do, right? I ended up with cancer. And was going to have to take, do the surgery and do all of that stuff. Well, you hear the big C word and you think all kinds of stuff. So, I pretty much was saying, okay, I'm done. This is the end of it, And
done as
it was
in, like you saw that as a terminal thing.
Yes. Because from my experience, everybody I had known, it ends up being a terminal thing. And but when I went and saw the oncologist, he said, no, this is the least aggressive kind there is. Surgery's going to take care of it, yada, yada, yada. And everything was fine. Well, I did that and, got through that all right, just fine, and then my dad, he got real sick and he passed away and I had to tell with my mom, take care of that. So I was still putting myself way on the back burner and wasn't taking care of me for the most part. And that went on for a few years, a few more years. And then, I was talking about doing boxing, kickboxing, something, and there was no place at home to do it. And I found him. I found him on the date site. We had talked off and on, goofing off for about a month. And, and I finally just asked him, so what do you do? And he told me that he trains fighters and this and that. And I went, okay, there it is. And we met and started going from that. And I started finding me again. I started being able to focus on me and get me better.
Like I want to go back a little bit though, because like the diagnosis that you had for the cancer, and and when you got your LVN and all that, was that after your divorce already?
That was after the divorce.
Okay. So that's when you started making more changes, at least on the income side, on the certain kind of like just meeting the immediate needs of you and your children. Okay, now I'm free of this toxic environment. My ex-husband. Now I can make these, I hate to say surface kind of changes, but it's like these are the immediate needs, right? We need money. We need to keep going in some way. So this was a way for you to move forward.
Right. It was a way to get things started.
Yes.
And before, I was working part-time at my church at that time, and I ended up getting thrown into a full-time position because the maintenance guy that had hired me to help him ended up leaving. And so I kind of had to step into that role really quick. So I was doing that and nursery and trying to go to school and, keep everything as much together as I could keep together.
Yeah.
And make things work.
Now as a single parent, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And trying to be in 15,000 places at one time.
Yeah.
So it took a little bit. So obviously I got way put back on the back burner until, I could get kids grown and I could get me and kind of settle things out. So that's kind of how that went.
And that's when was that when you mentioned that your weight was pretty high as well?
My weight when I started LVN school was probably a little over 300 pounds. I started wearing a 4X scrub, and now I can wear a small. So yeah, but yeah, that's when I realized I had to start doing something.
but I didn't know what I wanted to do. I tried walking, I tried this, I tried that, and nothing was really satisfying whatever it was I was looking for at that time. I didn't know what it was, but nothing was satisfying that. I wasn't feeling like I was getting anything from that. And so I would quit. I'd pick it back up. I'd quit, back and forth, back and forth. And, I met him, like I said, online in the strangest ways that possible. And we started training the day before Easter. I met him in Abilene at one of the parks. And, he had his gloves and his mitts, and he kind of showed me. He said, "This is, these are the gloves you would need. This is kind of what you need. This is how you stand. This, throw it this way, and everything." And we kind of worked it out to where when I would up in Abilene working, we could train when I got off work. That way I wasn't making a whole bunch of extra trips, and did it that way. And then when I started traveling, like I said, I'd find a gym first. When I would come home, I'd say, "Hey, I'm going to be home such and such. You have time to train?" He said, "Yes, I do." And we would train. And it went from training with just him to training with him and then going to the gym. And then training with him for an hour and then down in the gym for an hour. And then it just kept increasing and increasing and increasing. And then I started running. And then he said, "Here, try my bike. You need to be doing this too." And I rode his bike. I said, "Yes." I forgot how that felt. Yes, I need a bike. So I got a bike. So, I run, I bike, I box, I try to do all of it and just kind of keep it going. I mean, that's got to be part of my lifestyle now. And it's something that I crave, that when I don't do it, you're supposed to be taking a day of rest, right? Because your body needs rest. My day of rest consists of probably biking or running, and that's probably it. But I have to do something. I can't just sit there.
Active rest, right?
Right. I can't just sit there. So I figure, okay, I'll do that. That's better than boxing or something else. That's at least rest, and go with that, because I can't just vegetate anymore like I used to.
But you had already started making progress in as far as like your health, losing weight and such, even before you found your trainer now, right?
Yes, I had dropped about 40 pounds.
Yeah,
and so I was making some, but it had stopped, and I could see it going back up easily and quickly. And I was to the point that I had to do something, because I knew if I didn't, it was going to end up killing me slowly. Or I was going to end up doing it myself, because it was to a point that I had to do something. I didn't like the way I felt. I didn't like the way I looked. I didn't want pictures taken at family things, none of that stuff. I didn't want a part of that. I didn't want to be around a whole lot of people, because I was very insecure with the way I looked and everything. And so I knew I had to do something. And like I said, just walking wasn't doing it. Right. I needed something more physical. I needed to feel like I was doing something, And so we started training, and I started feeling better, and I started getting more confidence, and I could see it dropping, and the more it dropped, the more confidence I would get, and the more self-esteem I would get. And so the more it would go, and the more I would keep doing it, and everything else. It was just a never-ending cycle, to the point now that, I've got to do it. And there's a whole lot of things that I don't eat anymore like I used to eat, because it's like, no. Yeah. Now it hurts my stomach if it's there, because it's so heavy. I'm not used to that anymore. I was a big Dr. Pepper junkie. As soon as I got up in the morning, I'd have a Dr. Pepper, and I'd keep a Dr. Pepper all day long. Probably a month and a half after I started training, I put the Dr. Peppers down. No more Dr. Peppers, and it's just water. I have a cup of coffee in the morning, and the rest of the day it's just water.
Now, that particular change there, was that something where that was a kind of a mental decision you made, or was it like physically, like you're saying, like if you eat certain things, like it just feels off to you? Was it kind of a physical reaction, or was it just you just decided I'm not going to do it anymore?
I just decided I wasn't going to do it. It wasn't what I needed to do, and all of it. And I had talked to we talked nutrition, even in the beginning, and everything. And he was a big, water, drink water. You don't need all the Cokes and the sodas and all that stuff. And, the more he would talk and the more he would encourage, he never pushed. He never pushed any of it. And I said, okay, it's time to do this. And I put it down. I didn't drink another one. And I haven't, even to this day. I haven't drank another one. And, I just drink the water like crazy, and that's all I do. And I had quit drinking I hadn't had one in probably 2 weeks before I even said anything that I hadn't had a Dr. Pepper to him. I'd gone 2 weeks without one, and I said, hey, I haven't had a Dr. Pepper in 2 weeks. He goes, really? I go, yeah, it's just water. He said, well, good job. So that's kind of how that went. It was just one of those things. I just finally decided to put it down and be done with it. And I haven't looked back. It was really easy to do. And chocolate is another thing that I always, I love chocolate, but that's another thing that I don't do it anymore. I don't go out and buy the candies anymore. I don't do that now. Christmas time, grandbaby's birthday, things along those lines. Obviously, I'm going to have a little bit. That's just part of it. Especially when your 8-year-old granddaughter bakes you a cookie and brings it to you. You can't very well say no.
Gotta have some allowances, right?
right. But that's it. I just do it then, and I don't do it any other time. And when my grandbabies stay with me, they know they're not going to have all that junk food. So they eat what I eat. They'll eat tuna, they'll eat salad. They eat the things that I'll eat, and they don't complain. And which I'm very happy for. Not that if they don't want ice cream, not that I won't go get them ice cream. Especially if they've been done really well. But it's not something that I keep, and they know that. So they, everybody's pretty much on board now. It does drive my family crazy sometimes the way I eat and the way I train, but
well, I guess that was going to be my next question, because as you're making these changes for yourself, right? Like just before the boxing, starting to lose the 40 pounds there and making some changes there. Were your children still with you at the time as you're making changes?
No, they were already grown and had families of their own and starting families. But in the beginning, I wasn't cutting as much back out of the diet and stuff, and still losing. And so they was okay. They didn't give me too much of a hard time because I was still eating some of that stuff. But after I started training, I started really cutting things back. Probably a few months after we started training, I didn't go out to eat anymore. Even to Taco Bell or something quick and easy. I didn't do that anymore. I didn't go and buy Dr. Peppers and stuff all the time. I didn't do that. So they started seeing it, and when we get together, my daughter says, okay, this is what we're having. I know you're not going to eat it. So what are you bringing? They do that to me, and they do. Now my daughter and them are trying to eat healthier and everything, but they do eat a lot of things that I don't normally eat anymore. And, sometimes I'll eat just a little bit of it, and sometimes I won't. Sometimes I can't do that, that I'm going to pay for it later on, and it's not worth it. But they give me a hard time with it every so often. But for the most part, they're proud of the changes that I've made.
Okay. Yeah. Because, that's the thing. Like, as you're talking about this and, getting those feelings of reconnecting with your true self, right? Getting more active and like rediscovering that part of you. But, and then at the same time, you have your family that give you this feedback.
Right.
And, typically what I found, when people with family specifically is one, it's not so much that they're consciously trying to hold you back from what you're trying to do.
Right.
It's just, they want, either one, they want to be sure that you're safe and you're doing yourself okay.
Right.
But the second bit is that, and this might even be more deep seated, is that they don't want to lose the relationship they've had with you up to that point. Like how they, like, are you changing not only physically, but as part of these changes, are you changing your idea of your relationship with them, kind of a thing? I don't know if that's the case for your family, but like, how did you navigate that kind of that push and pull, the pull to what you want to be as a, inside, to the kind of, the what you're getting back from your family?
Oh, it's hard. It's hard trying to be more than one person for a bunch. It really is hard.
Be more than one person, huh?
Right. I have to be me, which is the fighter and a nurse and a caretaker all rolled into one. But when I'm with them, I have to be the grandmother, the mother, the daughter with my mom. I have to be those things. And sometimes the nurse part can come into that, and it's fine because sometimes it's needed. But the fighter part has to kind of stay back. It needs to stay back kind of in the shadow for a little bit. I mean, it's there, it's there, but it doesn't come out like the rest of it does. It has to be in its own little box at that time. And sometimes that's really hard because sometimes it comes out and the rest of it goes back, and that's just the way it is. It's kind of, with my family, it kind of depends on what mood everything is going in.
Okay.
If everybody is in a great mood and everything's going great, there's no stress or anything going on that makes something off, then the little fighter part of me kind of stays back a little bit. And it's there if it's needed, but it stays back. But if things have been going on, things are stressful, somebody's been giving them a hard time, this and that, well, then the fighter comes in the front and it stays there. Now, I've always been the person that in a family gathering or any kind of gathering, I'm the protector, pretty much. I don't allow myself to have a whole lot of fun in those because I'm making sure everybody else is okay. Everybody else is having fun. Nobody is upsetting anybody and everything's fine. I'm pretty much that person and I always have been that person, and I think that's the fighter part that comes out. That's there, that they're making sure everything is fine. If need be, they can step up, but that's, I've always been that way. And I still am that way. When we have big family gatherings for Christmas, I don't allow myself to enjoy it like I need to because I'm making sure everybody else is enjoying it. Everybody else is having a good time. Nobody has said anything to upset anybody, or anything like that. And so the fighter part kind of steps forward and sits right there just in case it's ready to jump and everything else is kind of sitting back a little bit, So it's difficult to kind of put all of that together, this part, and this part. It's almost like there's three different people there. Everybody's got to have a little piece of it. And, which way do I have to go this time? Which personality is needed at this point? Do I need to stay this way? My daughter has got, all of her children are adopted and she's got one little boy that's very special needs. And when I was working in Arizona, he was very, very, very sick and on a ventilator and everything and wasn't sure if he was going to pull through or what. And when she first started telling me, I said, I'm going to have to talk to you later. And I just hung up the phone. And I had to pull it together and everything. And then I called her back. I said, okay, I got to talk to you about this in a nurse mode where I can deal with it, where I can stay composed because otherwise I can't do it. So if that situation's there, then the nurse comes out and the nurse is there and I can deal with whatever needs to be done. If things are going crazy and things are tense, then the fighter is there and the fighter is ready to go with whatever needs to be,
What is the fighter when you talk about that? The fighter's ready to go. Because we're not talking about you're throwing right.
We're talking about somebody who's going to protect with whatever needs to be done. Somebody who can step in and take care of whatever is focused and right there and ready to go. And there's no nonsense,
No nurturing necessarily like the nurse or there is the obstacle. Let's punch our way through.
Exactly. And it doesn't always mean literally. It may be just figuratively punching, but let's just get through this, and get through it to the other side. And so when that one is needed, that one is always there. Now when I'm with my family, now that one's not always needed. It's always, most of the time it's in the background, and not even there a lot, but they know that side of me, they know that part. They know that if there is a problem for any reason, I'm going to be ready to step up and say, okay, let's take care of this, whatever we need to do. So, but that's always been been my personality. I've always been that way. I'm always ready to step up and take care of whatever business needs to be taken care of to get through whatever needs to be gotten through, you know? So, I mean, that's part of it. So trying to keep everybody in line with all the parts of me sometimes can be difficult, you know, because sometimes my family don't quite understand the need to train, the craving to train. You know, they don't get that. They go, really, you're training again?
Yeah,
You
well,
just
that's what
did
I wanted
that.
to go to next, is because, I mean, as dedicated as you are to kind of your self-care, right? And this is just part of you now, you know, and they
Right.
know how not only you know, just physically, you know, staying in shape and that type of thing. This is your chosen mode, but there's something inside you that is, this is part of it. This is, you're drawn to it.
Right.
How does that, how do those conversations play out, like in terms of, or do they play out when you have something you're excited about? You've got a tournament coming up, or you've found this new thing that you know, out, you know, with your coach, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is great. Do you have those conversations? Does that come up? Do you bring that up, or do they even ask, like, with your family?
They do bring it up a lot. Actually, it's kind of funny. My 8-year-old granddaughter brings it up more than anybody. She wants to know about it. You know, are you training? Are you training with your coach? You know, because she knows him, and, you know, she thinks he's just the greatest thing in the world. He's trying to teach her a few things, you know. So, are you training? What have you done? When do you have a match? You know, and they know when I have matches coming up, or when I have a possible match. They know that. And, you know, although they're glad that I'm doing that and enjoy doing that, there is a side of them that they don't like it. You know, they don't like the idea that their mom, somebody's hitting on her, you know. They don't like that part of it.
So for them, it's more of a kind of a safety issue for them? Okay.
It is a big safety thing. You know, they don't want me to get hurt. They're afraid that that's going to happen. And that is a big possibility, you know, in boxing. You know, it's a huge possibility you can get hurt. It takes one punch. That's all it takes. And, you know, so they know that. But like I told them, I said, you can get hurt at anything. There's no guarantee. You can get hurt going to work. I can get hurt just taking care of my patients, you know. Somebody could go off the deep end and start wailing and punching and doing everything, you know. So that can happen at any point in time. So you can't run from that. You just have to realize that that's a possibility and make the best of it, and try to stay out of that if possible, you know, if you don't need to be. But yeah, I mean, they're supportive, but they would rather me not always do it. And they do know the days that I train the same days every week. And they know on those days, if you need me, it's going to be after that. You know, if you really need me before that, then that maybe I can switch the day if I know it in advance, you know, but they know this, and they know that's going to happen. My little granddaughter, she's gone with me to train a few times. And, you know, I come back and my phone's loaded with all kinds of videos from it. So, you know, so she does that, and you can hear her in the background yelling for me, you know. But she enjoys it. In fact, you know, when she's with me, I have a bag in my dining room, at the dining table, and she'll put on my gloves and punch on the bag. You know, she's a double amputee, so she can't do a whole lot of things, you know, like normal. But she wanted to learn how to jump rope because I jump rope. So we fixed a way for her to try to jump the rope. And she'll do push-ups, and she'll use my hand weights, and she'll do that. She trains with me. You know, when she's here, she wants to do that. So, you know, she's my little training buddy, but she's very supportive, more so I think than they are. But then I think she doesn't see some of the same things that they see, you know.
Yeah, they don't have the same point of view as she does.
Exactly.
You know, ideas of limitations or that type of thing.
Exactly.
Have there been any situations where like you hear from family not to I guess to kind of do opposite of what you're doing, kind of like particularly with your granddaughter there, not encourage her to follow this route that you're taking?
Not really. They kind of laugh about it because I have said that, you know, the girls and one of the grandsons. I said, they need to learn, if for no other reason, to take care of themselves. You know, especially the two girls, they need to be able, when they go off to college, to take care of themselves, because, you know, people aren't nice anymore. So I said, it's no, for no other reasons for that, you know, it's a good discipline. And, you know, they say, they do need to learn to protect themselves. And so, you know, I teach them a little bit. The younger one, she's 4, and when she's here, she puts on the gloves and does the bags too. I mean, she knows this, and she knows, and we'll box and we'll fight a little bit and all. But so they know that, and they know that's something that I do. But in their eyes, it's something fun that their Nana does. You know, nothing dangerous. It's just something fun.
Right.
You know, but I do think all girls need to learn how to defend themselves. And even little boys now, they need to learn how to defend themselves, because people aren't nice anymore. And this is just a good way to do it. So if nothing else, if I can teach them, for them watching me, and teach them how to do some of this, then it's all worth it.
Take me to that, to when you started training with your coach there. I mean, you all had been trading messages back and forth. Through the dating app, but then, like, you know, you start talking more about boxing and training and that type of thing. First time you meet up is in this park. You put on the gloves. What was that like? It
was awesome. It was such a feeling. I you know, I can't even really explain it. It was just like, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what
no fear, no apprehension about it at all.
None at all. You know, I didn't even have any qualms or nervousness about even meeting him at the park. I really didn't. And I mean, my picture was up there, so he knew what I looked like. I had no clue what he looked like. So there you go. And I had no qualms about meeting him. I was like, yes, somebody's going to actually show me about boxing and kickboxing. That's awesome. And so he got his stuff out and put the gloves on. And he showed me how to stand, you know, and, you know, we joked around a little bit. And he goes, what are you really wanting from this? You know, what are you looking for? Why are you wanting to do this? You know, top thing. And we talked about it again, and we talked how we might can make it work, and this and that. And, you know, I guess 45 minutes, you know, he was showing me how to punch and how to stand and how to turn, you know, that back foot to do that cross, you know, and how to do these things. And he was showing me how to do that. And I went, wow, this is awesome. And I called him when I got home. You know, I called him. I said, hey, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. This is really what I want to do. We'll see, you know, how I can make this work for you. You know, and we talked about it again. You know, what are you looking for? You know, why do you want, you know, this and this and this? And then we just talked about just general stuff, you know. And then Easter Sunday, I said, okay, I know how we can make it work. You know, I'll work up there 2 or 3, 4 days a week. You know, when I get off work, we can train if he's willing to train at that time, and he's not training at another gym or something. So I texted him all this long thing, and he just called me. He said, I got too much to say, trying to text. And he agreed. He agreed to do it that way. So I went to work on Monday. I met him at another park, and we trained outside. We normally train outside. We don't usually train indoors. Every now and then we'll train at a boxing gym. He's got privileges at, but not very often. Most of the time it's all outside.
Wow.
My apartment complex pays for me a membership at the gym because they don't have a, you know, facility here. And they've got bags and stuff. So sometimes if he wanted to do more strength training, more ab work, more of this, we'll go over there and train. But just kind of depending on what he's wanting to do. So, but we train even in the heat, 100-degree heat. We train outside. You know, that for 2 or 3 hours. That's how we do it. And so we started training outside. Then he took me to the gym one day to train because the weather was not conducive to be outside. So we go to the gym and we train there. And I thought I had died and gone to heaven. Here I am in a real gym and all this stuff, all these toys. You know, this is awesome. And so, you know, he was showing me all this other stuff that of course, we didn't have access to in the park, you know, the speed bags, this and that. And I'm like, yes. And so, you know, we would train there. And then in the wintertime when it wasn't conducive to be outside, we'd go and train there, and then I'd take one of his classes. So I would train with him 2 hours and take his hour class. I was constantly doing that. And then it gets big where we just train pretty much outside most of the time. But that's kind of where it went. I mean, it just went that way.
Wow. When he first had you out there, you had those conversations, and he asked you those 2 times, what do you want to get out of this? What do you want with this? What did you tell him?
I told him I wanted to get healthier and I wanted to lose weight. That was my main objective.
That was
fighting. Yeah. Fighting had not even come into the picture yet. I hadn't even thought about that at that point. I just wanted to get healthier and I wanted to lose weight and I wanted to be the person that I knew I could be. And I knew if I didn't do that, I wasn't going to have much of a life because, like I said, I didn't like myself at all. So that was my main goal, my main objective. And about 2 years into it, I was working in San Antonio, and the coach there goes, "You need to fight." I go, "Really?"
So you were traveling for work. You were working out at this boxing gym, and the guy there saw how you were moving and said, "You got to fight."
He goes, "You need to fight," and I go, "How do I do this?" He said, "Well, you need to get a book." So he walked me through how to get the pass book, and it took a little over a year to get a fight because the masters females, they're not easy to get one. So it took a little over a year to get one. And in the beginning,
how old were you at the time you got your first fight?
52. Yeah.
Wow.
My first one. And she was 10 years younger than me and outweighed me by 15 pounds and had a whole lot more fights than what she told me she had. And I still took it. I'm like, we're doing it. I waited a year for this. We're doing this.
So, okay, from the time that he brought it up to you, you need to fight, any hesitation, any apprehension up to the point that you actually got in the ring?
No, I actually was looking forward to it. Now, when I first got in the ring, when that first fight came up, I was nervous because I didn't really know what to expect, I was nervous about it. But it's like you always hear when you're in the middle of that, you don't hear anything. You don't hear none of that. You only hear what you're supposed to hear. And that's exactly the way it is. I didn't hear anybody else in the crowd. My mom came to my first fight and my brother and his wife came to my first fight. And, I didn't hear anybody yelling for me at all. I knew a couple other people there. I didn't hear anything at all. And, I just went for it. And, I was very outmatched. I'll give you that. I was very outmatched. She had a lot more fights than me. She knew more about the game than I did, but she came in with the thing that she was going to knock me out, and it never happened. I still went toe-to-toe with her. I kept it, and it was a close fight. It was a close fight. So, I'll take it. But, I rematched her a year later, and she didn't want to go toe-to-toe then. Because when we go toe-to-toe, she couldn't deal with that, so she kept me at arm's length. It was still a close fight. She still beat me. But it was just the fact that, this getting in the ring doesn't scare me at all. I mean, I was very nervous about it and very like, okay, I'm not sure what to expect now. Sparring is one thing. A fight is something else, It is, but it isn't. But, and so I didn't know. But after that first one, it was like, okay, when can I do the next one? When can I do the next one? A couple months later, I had a big one ringside, did a big tournament. I got in on that one. I'm like, let's do this, So I was getting into it, that first one just kind of fed the fuel a little more and there it goes. Yeah. But no, I wasn't apprehensive about getting in there. I wasn't trying to back out. I did have a thought like, oh, she took it. I have one. Okay.
Like,
this is really going to happen.
This is real.
Yeah, this is happening. That did cross my mind. But I wasn't apprehensive at it at all.
Now, how did your family react to the news that you at 52 were going to get in the ring and actually start throwing gloves?
Oh my gosh. They were like, really? Really? Wow. Okay. And, but they went with it. They were okay with it, but they wasn't like, I don't know about this. But they were supportive. They were very supportive and was fine. And, you know, I just went with it. It was something I wanted to do, something I wanted to try, something I felt good about and passionate about. And that's what I want to do. And you're not going to talk me out of it. You might as well just step aside and let me do this. Now, my main coach couldn't go with me on that first fight, but the guy in San Antonio went with me.
Okay.
And he said at the end of that fight, he said, you shouldn't have taken that fight. He said, I should have told him no. He said, but you were going to do it anyway. And I knew that. I go, you're right. And that's what my coach here said too. He said, she was too big for you.
Yeah.
I said, they're always too big for me.
There you go.
You know, the last one I fought in Arizona, it was like Rocky fighting the Russian. Literally, my head was at her shoulder. That's how tall she was, you know, and they're always bigger than me. And, you know, I'm always a little guy in the ring. So, but I just keep going and keep punching at it and just going with it and say, you know what? Win or lose, because you don't lose, you learn something. You just go with it and go from there. I stepped in the ring. That's more than most people at my age is going to do, especially a female. So there you go. I already won. And that's just the way you have to look at it.
Well, that's interesting that you say that, because I mean, it's even seasoned fighters, I think they would have a challenge having that mentality of like, there's no losing, there is just learning.
Right.
Is that just something you were born with, or is that something you had to learn for yourself as well?
You know, I really don't know. I don't know if I was born with it or if I just had to learn it. Now, if I was born with it, you know, it might have just been hidden for a while. You know, I don't know. But that's just the way I look at it now. You know, I don't lose. I learn something. You know, and, you know, a lot of fighters, pro and amateurs, they'll take a couple of weeks off when they get through fighting. I fight on Saturday or I'll fight on Sunday. I'm back training on Monday. You know, I don't take any time off. I train constantly. And that's just the way my trainer goes, you don't quit. I go, no, I don't quit. I mean, why quit? If I quit, you know, especially my age, it's just going to slow me back down. So why quit? Just keep going. You know, as long as I can do it, just do it. So that's just the way I've done it. And that's just the way it works for me.
You mentioned also like that, I mean, given your stature, pretty much everybody that you're getting in with is the bigger person. How do you handle that? I mean, is that something that you had to learn of, like, okay, just that's just the way it is, or like you were always comfortable with it? I mean, how do you work with that, knowing that I'm just going to be smaller? That's it.
Well, I mean, I've always been the small guy on the totem pole anyway, but I just learned, you know, most people are going to be bigger than I am. And I'm just going to have to, if I can get the headshot, fine. If not, beat the body until the head drops and then go. You know, I mean, that's what I got to do. I know I can't reach up there 10 feet and actually get a good punch. So I chop the tree down little by little, get it down to where I can get to it and go. And that's what I have to do. You know, I've sparred people bigger than me, and that's the way I have to go at it. You know, I just have to chop it down at the bottom and work my way up and go from there and just go with it. Of course, too, me being smaller is a little beneficial for me because they've got to get to me, and so I can get down a lot lower, and so that makes them work a little bit. So it can be a benefit, but it can be a disadvantage. So there you go.
You're just going forward anyway. I mean, that's just a circumstance that you have to accept either way. So
exactly.
Gotcha. Debora, this was awesome. This is so good.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
I love it. I could talk to you forever. This is great. Look, I think this is going to be really helpful for anybody that finds their way to it. I'm sure that they'll want to get more of you, even if it's like, you know, how is Debora doing as far as, you know, did she, you know, in the next fight or whatever. Where, if somebody wanted to get more of you, where could they do that?
They can find me on Facebook.
On Facebook?
Okay. Yeah, they can message me through Facebook anytime.
Cool. Debora, again, thank you. This was great.
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed it.
Folks, I don't know about you, but every time I hear that episode, even just little snippets of it, I am fired up. I mean, Debora is just a fireball, and it's hard not to catch that energy from her. So I hope you appreciated it as much as I do. Thank you to Debora. Actually, thank you to our mutual friend, Jeff Ronning, for connecting us, too. So without Jeff, this would not have been possible at all. That's it for today's episode. Again, this is Philip with the Everyday Fighter Podcast. Talk to you next time.